We just celebrated our first profitable quarter for our company, and it's been awesome. And when we launched Freewyld, specifically Freewyld Foundry, we wanted to really make sure that we grow a healthy business, something that is driving incredible results, building an incredible culture with our team, but then, of course, something that drives a lot of profit. What do we do with the funds when we actually make money in this company? There's really three main options that you have when you have a profit in your business. Number one option is to reinvest it back into the business. Number two is the owners, the shareholders, take that profit for themselves. The third option is to share it with the team. And that's the option that we took. As a team culture, we value growth, personal growth, not just in the business profit-wise, but personally, who are we becoming through this journey? To me, it's like MIFA means building it to our brand standards, but then also letting, for lack of a better phrase here, letting the artist be an artist and just create with no barriers or guardrails.
Such an easy culture win if you implement this, and just making it a ritual and a habit, because culture is built off of rituals.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.
Once you have a team of A players assembled and your business is growing, you're starting to see record profits, what then? Really good problem to have. Eric, we are in this moment ourselves with Freewyld Foundry, and you and Jasper, the co-founders, have made some really exciting decisions about this recently. So we just passed a really important milestone. What was it? What happened?
Yeah, so we just celebrated our first profitable quarter for our company, and it's been awesome. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons to be in business. One of the main reasons is to drive profit. And I think for a lot of startup entrepreneurs, we never really understand what profit is. We see top line revenue and we invest it, just constantly keep growing the business, investing into things, paying ourselves, all of that. But at the end of the year, we always look at our P&L and it's no profit. And I think that's a story for a lot of people. And when we launched Freewyld, specifically Freewyld Foundry, we wanted to really make sure that we grow a healthy business, something that is driving incredible results, building an incredible culture with our team, but then, of course, something that drives a lot of profit. And we finally got there. So it's pretty awesome. First quarter where we're able to drive profit. And it was a mixture of our cabins and our revenue management service, which is great. And now I think the whole idea behind this was, as we were growing the company, it's like, what is the culture that we want to create? What do we do with the funds when we actually make money in this company? What do we do with that? And there's so many different options of how to manage your profit. But yeah, we're finally at that first profitable month or quarter. And our goal is to drive a profitable quarter every single quarter for here on out. And so that was amazing. That felt really good. And then it felt really good on the way that we were able to manage all of that and what we did with that profit.
Yes. So we'll talk about that decision and kind of the options that were before you in just a moment. But I just wanted to, I don't know if commiserate is the right word, but coming from entrepreneurship myself. So I ran basically a marketing branding agency for 10, 12 years before I joined Freewyld. And that was my experience as well. Like, nobody wants to talk about that. Everyone wants to talk about we're making 6 figures in revenue, 7 figures in revenue, all of those things. But profit is a different equation entirely, because there's always more that you can invest in. There's always more help that you want, especially being visionaries. We always see the next stages of growth and of success. And a lot of that requires investment. So if you're not careful and if you're not really diligent about it, you can very easily spend all of your profit. So this is a massive milestone for us.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, because it's, again, I think, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18. I've started so many different little businesses, startups, investment companies, and, there was always money being made, but I never really had a profitable business, right? And we were always growing and investing into certain things. And I always heard that. And even now, when we talk to new clients or potential clients, they're always asking us about their profit. So, you're going to increase my profit. I'm like, no, we're going to increase your revenue. That's different than profit. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, getting to that understanding of what is actual profit in your business. And it's as simple as after all expenses, after everything that you paid, you have money left over. And that goes to you as the owner. And in our case, the owners and the team. And that's amazing. It's amazing to be in that position. And we approached and structured this company from day one to be a profitable business. And we're finally there. And now our goal is to, as we continue to grow the business, how do you maintain profitability, which is huge. So definitely recommend to all entrepreneurs listening to this, regardless of the size, is to focus on how do you drive a profit at the end of the quarter and watch it. It's something that we watch every single week on our expenses to monthly. And then at the end of the quarter, you're able to pay yourself out, which is amazing.
Yeah. You actually have dividends in the business. And to be clear, like the people that are working in the business are still getting a paycheck before you're profitable. That's one of the expenses. And that includes CEOs if you're actually working inside of the business. But this is above and beyond all of the team costs and then all of the other investments that you're making.
Exactly.
So what were the options that you and Jasper considered when you saw the bottom line and you're like, all right, let's figure out what to do with this?
We made a decision on what to do with profit before we were even profitable, right? So we made that decision early on. There's really three main options that you have when you have a profit in your business. One, you could reinvest that profit back into your company, new team members, tech, all of that, which most of the time that's what's happening. And when you're in growth, hyper growth, that's where most of your profit goes to, is to your team, to systems, to errors, to marketing. Like you're trying to figure out and just invest into this thing that's growing. And if you're not paying attention, you can invest 100% of your profit. And we've done that essentially up until this last quarter. It's just constantly reinvest whatever money we had. Obviously, our number one goal is to always pay our team. Second is to pay bills and everything that this machine needs to keep growing. And then three, it's to invest into the business of like, what's the next thing that we need? What's the next tool? What's the next person? And this year we've hired a lot of people. Our team grew really, really fast. And we're investing in a lot of tools, all the things, right? So number one option is to reinvest it back into the business. Number two is the owners, the shareholders, take that profit for themselves. And I think most companies operate that way. And that's not a bad way of structuring it, where it's you're the owner, you're taking the risk, you're growing this thing, you're doing all this stuff. And at the end of the quarter or the end of the year, you pay yourself a profit. And it's amazing. The third option is to share it with the team. And that's the option that we took. When we started growing Freewyld Foundry in the very early stages, when Jasper and I were mapping this out, we were like, okay, how do we grow the number one revenue management company in the short-term rental space? And we recognize that the number one problem with revenue management companies in the short-term rental space is finding high quality talent, finding revenue managers that are talented at what they do and also understand the short-term rental and hospitality world. There's only the pool for that is very small talent. And we recognize that. And we're asking ourselves, like, outside of creating an awesome company and working with some awesome clients, what can we do to attract in the best revenue managers and frankly, the best team members and inspire them to do their absolute best every single day? Because I think the last podcast that we did, it was, our approach towards building a team is all about leadership and not micromanaging. And when you're growing a company, you need to have people on the team that you don't need to manage, that you just need to lead. That's a major difference. So we decided to create a bonus plan, a bonus structure in our company where the main team members, not everyone's in this pool, but the team members that are focused on driving revenue, driving client results, driving revenue at the end of the day, leadership, all of that. Those are the team members that all get put into a pot and we share that profit together. And we've built out this bonus plan that was inspired by a bonus plan that Jasper used to have back in the day when he was a trader. And it works really, really well. Because at the end of the day, the shareholders, of course, are getting profit. We're incentivized to grow a business and a profitable business. But now by bringing our team members into this, and we could talk about how we measure on all of that. But now by bringing the team members into the profit pool, it also gives them a sense of ownership to what we're doing. Not just the day-to-day KPIs of driving results for clients, but also it's like we're all here now to focus on, do we actually need to spend this money? Can we cut this tool? How do we just become as profitable as possible? And it's not just me and Jasper looking at, and our bookkeepers looking at profit. Now it's the entire team asking those questions. And it's the entire team asking, how do we drive the best results so we can get more clients and our clients stay with us for a very long time because we're the best at what we do. And if everyone's incentivized for that, then we all get to eat. together, which is amazing. And so that was a huge milestone for us. We actually, did this yesterday, which was amazing to, introduce to the team and share with everybody, that we had a profit and we're paying out everybody. And I think that was yesterday or the day before. And it was amazing. It was like the first step towards doing that. And now the goal is like, as we grow this thing, how do we drive larger and larger profits and inspire the team to continue to be the best at what they do with revenue management?
Yes. So excited. It was so fun to see you and Jasper present. You guys put together a presentation and celebrated the wins that we've accomplished so far, and then rolled this out to the whole team. And yeah, I think everybody was really excited. And just knowing what I know, again, coming from entrepreneurship, when you have those two options, you have, okay, how can I figure out how to drive more revenue? How can I figure out how to spend less to drive this revenue? When those are top of mind, that's what makes a healthy business. We don't want to be spending money willy-nilly. And we also don't want to rest on our laurels when it comes to driving results and driving revenue and driving new leads and all of those things. So this really gets everybody on the same page, and I'm super excited about it.
What's up, guys? Eric here. And before we dive into this episode, I want to introduce you to our podcast sponsor, Freewyld Foundry. Freewyld Foundry is a revenue management service, white glove, high touch service for the top 1% short-term rental operators. We're currently managing over $60 million in bookings, 1,700 listings worldwide, and we are growing very, very quickly. Our RPM program is a done-for-you revenue management service, and I want to invite you, if you are a short-term rental operator that's doing $1 million or more, or maybe about 15 listings or more, head over to freewildfoundry.com and apply for one of our free revenue audit reports. This is where Jasper and the team will actually take a look at your pricing strategy, audit all of your Airbnb listings, and let you know if you're leaving money on the table. So this is free to everyone who's listening to this podcast. Head over to freewildfoundry.com and apply for your free audit report.
So Jasper, like you said, modeled this after a bonus plan that he had when he was a trader. So there's kind of 3 different criteria that determines how much of the pie each of the team members get. Do you want to break it down?
Yeah, I think it's important, for everyone who's considering implementing this into the business. I think you got to look at what's the end goal behind this. And we want to, as I just mentioned, develop a team that's just like all in on what we're doing and just like really, really care about the company. And then of course our clients and our results, right? And then we're all incentivized to drive this profit. So there's a handful of ways of doing it. The way that we chose to measure it is, number one is time with the company. The longer that you're with the company, the more points, if you will, you get towards the bonus structure, right? So that it's measured on time with the company. Number 2 is it's measured on your KPIs with the company, or with your job scorecard. How well are you doing in that moment, month to month with your clients? And then number 3, so what is it? It's tenure, it's KPIs. What's the third one? I forget the third one.
It says performance, but
Performance.
KPIs and performance are the same thing.
No. So, okay. So KPIs is how you're doing on a monthly basis, right? So we have the job scorecards that most of our team members go through, and they're measured on how they're showing up, how their portfolios are doing. But performance is how your portfolios as a whole is doing in that quarter.
Yes. Also, I just remembered there's another column here, your level of seniority at the company. So
That's
whether you are a leader, revenue driver, or a support person.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So Jasper developed out this awesome process to where we can measure this as we go on a monthly basis. And then at the end of the quarter, it's just all calculates. And then we can see, hey, we have X amount of dollars in profit that goes to the bonus pool. And then everyone who's participating in that bonus pool, this is their percentage that they're getting of this bonus pool. So yeah, so there, again, everyone has their own way. For companies, they have their own way of structuring their bonus pool. It could be a lot more simpler than the way that we're doing it. But we want to, again, at the end of the day, incentivize specifically the revenue drivers to outperform, right? So making sure our clients are getting the best results possible, and then the better results that you get there. And we measure it compared to the market. Of course, if the market crashes, we're not putting the revenue manager at fault for that. It's how their decision-making on a daily basis is impacting those portfolios. And then through all of that, if they're just absolutely crushing it, they get the highest percentage of bonus plans. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's really, really exciting. The goal is to continue to grow that. And as the team grows, and obviously more and more revenue managers, as we grow, will enter into the bonus plan with us. But then again, everyone is incentivized by this culture of winning that we've created.
Yeah, I think it's such a great long-term plan. And then also it's fantastic. I mean, we're a relatively new business. So again, it wasn't implemented and it couldn't be implemented on day one because there wasn't profit on day one. We were still building the airplane as we were flying it. But now that we're at this point, it really celebrates and awards people for joining in on a company that doesn't have a huge tenure. So you get the added benefit and potential trajectory, like growth trajectory that the company is going to have over
Yeah.
the next couple of years. So
Yeah.
it is really exciting, an exciting way to incentivize people for being here basically at the ground floor, and then also to continue to incentivize them as we grow.
Yeah.
So
And it's a lot of
it's
fun.
fantastic.
It's
It
a lot of
is.
fun to share with the team in our success. So I
Yeah.
highly recommend it for everyone who's listening is to consider this. It doesn't have to be as intense as we have it structured, but having some type of incentive program there. It's like as the company scales, how do you help your team members grow with you financially? And then also like this is part of the culture conversation is like on our team call yesterday, we always start every team member on our calls, always start with 2 wins, a professional win and a personal win. And half of the team yesterday were talking about their personal wins of their personal growth, like how they're dealing with stress and how the books that they're reading, going to the gym for the first time, like everyone is growing because as team culture, we value growth, personal growth, not just in the business profit wise, but personally, who are we becoming through this journey? And that's another thing, like I think is a major milestone for us is seeing that the whole team is tied into this mindset of like, how do I grow and be a better version of myself? And it's not something we're pushing, but it's something that we're inspiring through the culture, which I thought was amazing.
Yes. The celebrating wins part is something that we have implemented on many different levels. Like you mentioned, every single team call, literally everyone, Monday and Thursday, both times that we meet every single week, we are inviting everybody to share their wins. I love this, especially as a remote team, because you get little glimpses into people's personal life without it being completely off topic for an hour or
Right.
something. Like you just get like this little snapshot of, babies' birthdays or boyfriends running a half marathon or going visit a new city, whatever it is. That's super fun. And then also we try to do this with our clients as much as possible too. So like in the monthly reviews where we're creating a report for them, we're celebrating everything that they're winning at right now. And when we were running the mastermind, we are not currently running the mastermind anymore, but we would always start those calls with wins as well. Such an easy culture win if you implement this, if you're not doing it already, and just making it a ritual and a habit because culture is built off of rituals. So yeah, my brain is still like stuck on the bonus plan,
Yeah.
even though we kind of pivoted here a little bit, but I just wanted to mention one thing because I know that we're talking to an audience primarily of CEOs. I wanted to be clear, like this bonus pool doesn't have to be 100% of your profit. It's a portion of your profit. We're
Right.
still reinvesting into the company. We're still, putting money away for a rainy day, but just having that pool of money that you're going to dedicate some of that profit to can be such a powerful motivator. So anyway, wanted to mention that really quick.
Yeah. And let me touch on that too. It's
Yeah.
again, for everyone who's listening, considering this, you don't have to follow exactly how we're doing it. Dive into ChatGPT and really just start building this out for yourself and learning the best way to structure a bonus plan. But it's a portion of profit that gets split between team and stakeholders, right? So there's multiple different ways of doing it. And one thing I'd love to touch on is my vision of like how I see this tying into the other part of our business, the real estate side. So there was a company called Fortune Builders here in San Diego, led by Tham Merrill and his team and business partners, Conrad and JD or Paul. They had a huge real estate. They had 2 arms. They had a real estate educational company doing hundreds of millions of dollars and just educating thousands of people around the world. And then they also had a real estate side where they had a fund where they acquired real estate and held and operated real estate all around the world. And they just absolutely crush it. I was really inspired by their team and their team culture for a long time. And one part that I really, really enjoyed what they were doing is they always inspired their team to invest into real estate. And they educated their team. They supported their team. So it didn't matter if you were an executive assistant, a salesperson in leadership position. They always wanted to inspire their team members to acquire real estate because that's what they did. And they wanted their team to develop out their own personal wealth, right? So one of my closest friends, Benny, was in a leadership position, ran their whole sales team, absolutely crushed it. And throughout the years, he would learn through the owners and would take a portion of his income and invest it into real estate. And he got to a point where he was able to retire at like 35. And he's not living a baller life, but that was his goal, is to get to a place where he bought his time back. He gets to do whatever he wants. And now he's investing in more real estate. So that inspired me. And I've been asking the question of like, how do we get the team involved in what we're doing on the cabin side? So part of the vision of the bonus plan is eventually we'll get to a place, and I think we can get here probably by next year, like a year from now, of where our team members will have the option to get paid out in cash through the bonus plan or invest that into a Freewyld project, into an equity position inside of Freewyld Cabins, right? The vision is like, not only are we helping our team become financially free through investing into real estate, and you get the real estate, the real estate benefits, if you will, but also they're learning how to invest into real estate. And then they become part of this whole flywheel from revenue management, because the whole goal of being and why we want Freewyld Foundry to be so profitable is so that we can roll the profit into our Freewyld Cabins. And the goal would be to buy 1 or 2 properties a year that we're able to put our own capital into. And then if we could also create this bonus plan where our team members have the options to invest into those deals with us, then all of us start scaling to a whole different level. It's not just about cash anymore. Now the whole team is part of the legacy that we're developing. So I know you're pumped about that. It's something that, as we raise money and we're trying to figure out that whole thing, I realize it's like we have this huge opportunity to drive an incredible, profitable business. And at some point, hopefully it gets to a point where the team doesn't necessarily need to worry about that bonus as extra pay to them dollar wise. And they see the value of investing into the real estate part. And then we have our Freewyld brand and the operational side. And you scale that out over 5-10 years, then we have everyone is in an incredible position. So that's ultimately my vision on how we're going to scale this out.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a powerful, powerful flywheel, because like you said, when we were flirting with the idea of raising for a couple different offers, the offers didn't end up falling through for one reason or another. But we did get to the point where we were like putting together decks and starting to talk to investors. And we were at a disadvantage because we needed the bulk of the fund to come from, is it LPs? It's been like months now since I've done an investment seed deck.
Yeah. Limited partners. Yeah. So we're GPs that are running the project, but the LPs are bringing the majority of the funds.
Yes, but typically the GP also invests in the project. Right. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, they should invest the GP should invest anywhere between 10 to 20% of the project. And we were trying to your point, we were trying to raise money with having zero money to invest into these deals, which is not impossible. It's not impossible. We did it once, and I used to do it in the past. It's not impossible, but when you're trying to build this brand and build trust, they want to see that you have skin in the game. And it just but also, if you're not bringing money to the table, you're giving up more equity in the deal. So the more money that we can bring of our own capital that we can bring to the deal, the more equity we can own in these properties. And maybe we get it to a point where we don't need to give up any equity and we can leverage our capital and get a long-term mortgage on these properties and not have to sell equity to buy the properties. So ultimately that's the direction.
And this whole process and this whole building and scaling is what is going to allow us to get to that point where we're in a much better position to bring a lot more cash to those deals. We'll have skin in the game and put our own money where our mouth is, which is going to make this whole ecosystem work really, really well. So super excited about that. All right. So circling back, you mentioned the wins that we start with every call on. Another thing that we're doing kind of on the human side of culture, aside from just incentivizing people through money and through bonuses, is we are building and really walking our talk in terms of unreasonable hospitality. We had like a quick shout out to this in one of our previous episodes, but we've really started the process of implementing it, not only in our cabin business, because I feel like we've been adding little things here and consistently over time to the cabin unreasonable hospitality, but we're really focused right now on building that culture into Foundry with our B2B service. Do you want to talk about some of the things that we're doing there?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole idea there is obviously there's a transactional relationship between us and our clients, and they expect us to drive certain results, and we expect them to be great clients and keep growing their business in a positive way. So we could all, why we're doing business in the first place, right? But we want to celebrate all the small wins. And being entrepreneurs, we know it's very difficult to celebrate the wins. Like you celebrate one thing and then, or like you accomplish one thing and then you're on to the next thing. So one thing that we're really working in is like we have Unreasonable Hospitality for the cabin side. But if you read that book and really understand Will's philosophy behind this, it's not just about the hospitality side of the business. It's Unreasonable Hospitality shows up in every aspect of your life, all relationships. So my question to the team was like, how do we celebrate our clients' wins outside of just sending them a Slack message and an email? It's like really looking and building relationships with our clients and celebrating the way and sending them something that will connect with them. So I don't want to give out too much details because we're still doing this and our clients haven't received things that we're sending out, but they're super specialized. So the culture, really, this should be about the culture of what we're creating here, is we're giving our team permission and allowance to make decisions on how they celebrate their clients, right? So as we are hitting certain revenue milestones, or someone's having a birthday or just had a baby, like whatever it is, they have the right or the permission to create a unique celebration for them on behalf of the team, on behalf of Freewyld Foundry. So we have a whole new system that we've developed out. We're turning this into a machine to where it's like, and I want to celebrate everything. I want to get to a point where our clients are like, all right, bro, like I get it. We're done celebrating. It's like, let's get to that point where it's like, okay, we'll dial back a bit. But it's like every milestone that we're accomplishing, anything that's unique, we want to celebrate that with them. So we have an Unreasonable Hospitality. That's one of our core values. And now it's like, how do we actually implement that into our culture? And this is one way of doing that. So it's a lot of fun, and we're getting really creative with what we're sending out as well.
I think culture is made up of a couple things. It's made up of your rituals, like we talked about. It's made up of these emotional highlights. So creating celebrations or just shared experiences that are kind of this high point. And then I think the third ingredient, I'm literally coming up with this on the fly, but it's how you communicate to each other. And I think that we do a pretty dang good job of communicating effectively, over communicating. What are some of the ways that you're proud of the team for communicating or how we communicate? And then what are the things that you keep in your mind when you're communicating to the team to create a positive culture?
It's funny that you say that, because that's the way that I envision culture too, is like, how do we communicate to each other? And that's the whole idea of starting with wins on every single call. Is we specifically have a professional win and we have a personal win. Right. And I want everybody to over communicate on what's happening. And it's the same thing for our clients. Like we're over communicating to our clients, not just the day to day, but over communicating with these Unreasonable Hospitality gifts that we're implementing. It's to show our appreciation. And, as challenges come up in the business, which it will, how do we communicate effectively through that to get to a solution as fast as possible, but also not doing it led with ego? One of our team members yesterday shared a personal growth moment that he had where he was dealing with a client that was very, very challenging, communicating in a very challenging way. And he was able to disconnect from his ego and from his emotion and lead through. He starts implementing the Unreasonable Hospitality, extreme ownership, all of that, and really started communicating to a place where they left the call and they were actually celebrating on where they were at, versus when they first started the call, it was very chaotic, right? And to me, that's part of the culture that we're developing here, is how do you disconnect from ego and solve through leadership? And that's what he really communicated to us yesterday, is that he led through that conversation to get to the ultimate result of hearing the concern of the client, but then ensuring that we have his back, right? So that's the stuff that I'm really excited about seeing and cultivating. And we'll see how it develops over time. Like as the team grows, we'll see, what it truly develops into, but it seems like that's the direction our whole team is leading, which is amazing.
It feels like we're all connected around personal development and around being self-aware human beings. I love and appreciate that about the whole team. And I think what you mentioned, it reminds me of kind of cliche marriage marriage advice, but the advice to always remember that you are on the same team as your spouse and that you're working towards common goals. I think that
Right.
that is the framework or the perspective that we approach most conversations with. It's like, okay, I might be wrong, you might be wrong, but like, let's figure this out for the betterment of the team so that we can move closer to this goal. And I think that that is a really key part of our culture that
Yeah.
I appreciate.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that because that's one thing that Samantha and I talk about all the time is when we get to a point where we realize that we're pointing fingers at each other and we're just butting heads and it's like, no, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's we then disconnect and say, okay, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's us against the problem. And just communicating that way, it helps you just like, okay, I'm still upset, but let's figure out what's actually happening and solve the
Yeah.
problem, right? And that's how I like to approach all challenges as best as possible. It doesn't mean that it happens every single time. Emotion can get in the way and ego can get in the way. But I think the personal growth moment there as leaders is to recognize when you're communicating through emotion and ego and then taking a step out of that and start leading towards the solution, whatever that
Yeah.
solution is.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm proud of that being in the company right now.
Yeah. All right. One last example of culture in action at Freewyld. I think our Verma booth. And we're talking about like what we wanted the design to be, what we wanted the experience to be like. And Eric put on Slack, just make it effing awesome. So now we've been using the hashtag MIFA, MIFA, as shorthand in our company to talk about like where we like the level we want to bring something to.
Yeah.
So pay attention in your own company to when that like unique language comes from either you, the founder, or even from a team member, and use that as shorthand because that also develops culture, like those little isms, Freewyld isms that you create. And we have wild mode and a few others as well. But yeah, that was just one last example that popped into my head.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that was in the book Setting the Table or Unreasonable Hospitality, one of them. But it talks about creating your own language in your company. And, I don't think you can force it. Right? Like that. I think the most important part is creating language in your company that it comes from the actual work that you're doing. Right. And as we were going back and forth about design and website and like all these other things, I took a step back and I'm like, okay, what do we actually have here as a company? I'm like, we have this freaking awesome brand. And I remember the early stages of like when we first started working together, when Freewyld was literally just an idea. And I was like, I don't care what it is. This is the vision. Go be an artist and create whatever the hell you want to create. And it came back and it was freaking amazing. And I said the same thing to our interior designers and it just came out amazing. And I realized like, as we go through the steps of building a business, we're creating so much stuff and doing so many things that we can lose that aspect. And I realized like we were getting so caught up in like, oh, maybe, the other booth has this and maybe we should have this. And what I'm like, at the end of the day, let's just make it effing awesome. And immediately you connected with that and you're like, oh, okay, I got it. I'll see you later. And there was like no more questions. And then it came back with this awesome product. Right. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we need. And like, to me, it's like MIFA means building it to our brand standards, but then also letting, for lack of a better phrase here, letting the artist be an artist and just create with no barriers or guardrails. It's just like, I don't need to tell you how to make this thing. You're going to make it a hell of a lot better than I would, but it's like, let's not get caught up on all the details. So now it's like, I see it everywhere. I see it with our social media. I see it with our YouTube, which is awesome, by the way, that our YouTube channel is blown up right now, which is great. The podcast edits are looking amazing. So MIFA. That's it.
Amazing. So we spent this episode talking about kind of the brain of culture development when we talked about our profit plan. And then I feel like we ended with the heart of culture. How do you want to close, Eric?
Hey, that was perfect. I think that was amazing. Yeah. I'm really curious. And for everyone who's listening, reach out to us. I'm really curious, like, is this topics landing with you guys? Are you finding this valuable? Because as we grow this podcast, I want this podcast to be, especially this show, is for it to be as authentic as possible. And sometimes it's like we struggle with what topic we want to get into. And what I'm realizing is I want to share from our experiences of what we're going through as we're building these companies and helping other entrepreneurs scale their companies.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, for everyone who's listening, if you guys are finding this valuable, reach out to us. What's the best way to get in touch with us? Okay.
Sound like a broken record, but you on LinkedIn, Eric D. Moeller on LinkedIn is probably the easiest and best way to get a hold of us. We are good marketers, so we're on all of the other platforms too. So wherever you find us is perfect. Send us a message. We would love to hear that. And to give you even just like a little more behind the scenes of that conversation, I think I came to you and Jasper a couple weeks ago and I was like, hey, we could create this 6-month podcast content calendar and we can cover like these 17 different topics and it would be really strategic and it would be great for sales. And then we sat down and we talked about it. And we're like, we don't really want to do that. Like we would much rather share with you what is happening in real time and also to create kind of a balance. So Jasper has these more technical episodes just by nature because he's talking about revenue management specifically, whereas we're talking more about a wider breadth of topics from behind the scenes at Freewyld to culture, leadership, marketing, and so forth. So we would love to hear from you because we are still kind of figuring out the balance between planning ahead and then also just figuring out what you want to hear. So we'd love to have your input. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, y'all. Take care.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.